I noticed I drink a lot of sodas when I'm gaming. Might as well drink something that's good for me. Head over to drinkolipop.com and order your favorite flavor.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first week of playoffs here at Unified Minor League. My name is Icarus. I'm joined on the desk tonight by Nightstar, and we are here to bring you an exciting series here between Eastern Michigan University and AOE Prodigies. How are you feeling about the matchup so far tonight, Nightstar?
Can't wait to dive into it. We've got, of course, Eastern Michigan University, which was conveniently the last team that we did cast together. So
Hmm.
at least some continuity coming on stream for the most part. And I can't wait for them to get back onto the Rift because last week they did have a bye. So as our one seed from, uh, I forget actually, Cloud Division. We
Yep.
do expect good things out of this squad.
Yeah, and then on the other hand, we do have AOE Prodigies, which are coming in from the Infernal Division. They are coming in 3-2 as the fourth place seed here for their side of the bracket, which means they're playing up against the first seed. It is going to be an uphill battle here for AOE Prodigies. They have a lot to prove here, but it's not to say that it can't be done.
Yeah, for AOE Prodigies, yes, it's a 3-2 record, and yes, you're coming in as a fourth seed, but at the same time, like a 3-2 isn't too shabby for a fourth seed. We've seen in some of these other groups, um, also hearken to the Cloud Division that a lot of these teams are getting out with a 2-3 record, and given that one of those one wins is a bye,
Yeah.
just getting one way to get into playoffs, not the sexiest looking four seed. So I do like the fact that this is a 3-2 squad coming in.
Look, if Cloud9 can make it into playoffs on a 2-4 record, then we can give our teams with a 3-2 here a better fighting chance versus Eastern Michigan University. But it is a 5-0. It is a 5-0 record versus them, so it's going to be a
Mhm.
very interesting matchup here. I wanted to take a second and see just how they're able to make it here, though. Eastern Michigan, as we said, is a 5-0. AOE Prodigies, though, if I look up their record here, they
Yeah.
lost. Yeah. They're able to they were able to beat out their first week was a bye. Their second week they lost to Michigan Technological University, and then in the following weeks they lost to Oblivion Esports. But they are on the up and coming in their final few weeks here, as they did win their last two series that they're playing against in the final weeks of the regular season. So coming off the back of a couple of wins here is feeling definitely really good if you're AOE Prodigies.
Yeah, and it could just be some of that roster building, taking a little bit of time to get some synergy down. They ended up playing one, the strongest team in the group week number 3, so that's always going to be a rough task. But being able to clutch out on wins in week 4 and 5, you've got that momentum building. Hopefully, that momentum is enough to really overcome this very, very tough squad in Eastern Michigan because they looked really, really clean when they got going.
And that's something that we got to keep worrying about with Eastern Michigan University is that with them being the 5-0 team, there's a lot of expectations that they're going to come out of this 2-0 fashion. And you have to remember, this is the playoffs. So this is where things matter the most. You don't get another week. Once you lose here, you're kind of done for. It's kaput. And whichever one of these teams is going to be moving on to the quarterfinals. And again, that's going to be another best of 3 series. We don't start hitting those best of 5 all the way up until semifinals. So it's like we're playing in the regular season here, but the stakes are just a little bit higher, Nightstar.
Yeah, for sure. And the real big focus here is how do AOE Prodigies, how do they deal with the mid jungle power coming in from EMU? Because when Gobbler gets to leave lane, that's where he really, really shines. And that's what really gave One Life to play a whole lot of fits in their series. In game number 1, they were able to really lock that down, but in 2 and 3, EMU, Gobbler, and Meow, they were all over the map just wrecking havoc.
If I remember correctly, I do believe that there was a Axe Sean game in there from Gobbler, and he absolutely dominated the Rift. Every lane, no lane was safe. He was everywhere all at once, getting kills left and right. And that final game, It was a little painful to watch for One Life to play, just with how much presence Gobbler was able to put onto the Rift here. As we are entering into the pick and ban, though, right off the bat, Tristana being taken off the table here, not wanting to give that one over to the Prodigies, as it looks like an answer in the mid lane is going to be the case here. Targeting Gobbler, as we mentioned, that LeBlanc being taken off the board.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how many bans AOE do toss over to Gobbler, as he is the main engine in this machine. And like, it's not to say Meow, because I mentioned it's the mid jungle. It's not to say that he isn't a big cog in the machinery. It's just that Gobbler's the main driving force. And Desire, so it looks like a lot of bot lane bans are coming out from ensure that they take away some of these it feels like more niche champions at the moment. Yes, we did see Xayah and Tristana a lot previously, but in this current patch, in this current iteration of League of Legends, these are two picks that have died out for the most part.
And it's interesting to see how much of that focus is being put into Esmond for AOE Prodigies, making sure that he doesn't get put on a comfortable champion. In particular, he's played a lot of Tristana in his solo queue games, and it looks like they're trying to take away a lot of these just kind of comfort safety picks when it comes to the AD carry roles. This Thresh ban going exactly in line with that playstyle. They don't want to give Esmond the ability to take over lane, and more importantly, taking away some of those safer picks where he can really kite for himself, take care of himself, and if there's any kind of playmaking potential from EMU, they want to make sure that it can stick to the AD carry.
And the other thing is, if you are trying to play some sort of big hyper carry like a Jinx or a Philios, it does strip away a lot of the peel potential or the safety coming out in that bot lane when you do take away a Thresh. So it almost feels like it's a indirect multi-ban in that regard, because even if you do lock in a Philios, it's not going to be as good just because you do lack a lot of that safety. And there we go, already Gobbler gets a really nice champion here, getting the TF, allowing him to at level 6 really cheat a lot of priority, make plays on both halves of the map. So loving this opening coming in from EMU.
It is interesting to see that they start off with a mid lane opening pick here. That's a lot of confidence that Gobbler must have in his own ability to be able to neutralize the mid lane and find a way to get out and to influence these side lanes. There's also been quite a heavy ban on junglers from the side of AOE Prodigies, with Xin Zhao and Lee Sin being taken off the board here. So making up for some of this nerf jungle presence that EMU is going to be dealing with here, by picking up that TF does mean that they're looking to still try and influence the side lanes more than anywhere else on the map. So we'll keep an eye out to see how Gobbler is able to get out of this lane. What it does cost the side of Eastern Michigan University here, though, is that all-important priority AD carry pick right now in the Misfortune. It's been seen first pick, or at least first rotation, for almost every single pick ban in Worlds. It's extremely powerful, just taking over the meta at the moment. And they're giving up the Viego as well, something we haven't seen a whole lot of necessarily after a couple of nerfs, but I do believe it just got buffed a wee bit in order to try and bring it back up to par.
Yeah, this opening coming in from AOE Prodigies is really focused around team fighting, as the MF Ultimate, of course, around these objectives, incredibly powerful, and being able to play around the terrain with this Viego pick, hopefully you find yourself with a reset to really get the ball rolling in these team fights. But instantly we are going to see an EMU respond with the Hecarim and with the Lucian. So this is very much focused around the lane phase. You're trying to gank around with the Hecarim, with the TF. You move around the map incredibly fast, and then Lucian also gives you a decent amount of lane presence. I wouldn't say it's a great matchup into the MF, especially with the Leona locked in, as that is going to be a lot of burst potential coming out from AoE. So I'm a little bit concerned about how this Lucian will do, but in an isolated matchup, the MF versus Lucian, you will be able to generate a lot of solo kills on her.
And I like to see what AoE is kind of already hovering towards with that Braum ban. They're showing that they want to play for that strong side bottom lane. We saw a lot of bans coming out from EMU, and yet we still get to see what is considered a very meta, very aggressive bottom playstyle here from the side of Prodigies. With that Braum being taken off the board here, and banning away the Nami here, which is that classic Lucian combo with the Electrocute, it is taking a lot of power away from the bottom side of the Eastern Michigan University composition and allowing Esmond and K-God to really play aggressive, play towards their strengths on the bottom half of the map here. And I have to see what EMU is going to be able to respond with in their support pick. We do have one more pick coming up here for AoE first. They're going to be locking in most likely a mid laner here and save that counter on the top side of the map because they already know that mid lane matchup. And that's a Diana there, Nightstar.
Diana coming out does mean that they're intending to add a little bit of flexibility here. So at the moment, it seems like it's going to be the Viego being flexed into one of these solo lanes. As TF isn't the strongest laner, you can technically move the Viego into that mid lane, but EMU, they round out their composition with a Rel and with a set. I was actually expecting a Morgana pick to come out just because Drug does play a lot of enchanters and it's a decent pairing with the Lucian against the Lita, but that's not going to be the play here, and we are going to see a last pick Camille. So Camille against Set, very, very good matchup, but we know Kanji, he's very much playing some of these more bruiser champions that play weak side. So Set is an instance of one of those champions that can play that style.
I'm looking at these two compositions, and you have very different approaches to the early games from both of these sides. On one hand, you have EMU that wants to hit level 6 as quickly as possible here for the mid lane, for their jungler, and then just start going into these side lanes. In particular, I think they're going to want to go towards the bottom half of the map, make sure that Esmond and K-God do not get rolling down there, but they have to hit this level 6 first. Meanwhile, on the other side, you got No Ray, you got Nightingale. Nightingale's going to want to be going in aggressively early versus Gobbler. Typically, you do pick these melee assassin matchups when you want to be in the opponent's face, trying to kill them early on. So it's going to be up to Gobbler here. He picked the TF extremely early on. We're going to have to see how he's able to pilot this champion throughout the early stages of this game, not get punished too hard, not be set behind, and more importantly, how is he going to be able to get out of this lane so that he can help his jungler, help Meow get across the map and start influencing these side lanes.
Yeah, compositionally, I do like the side of EAU with how they've structured. They play around their win condition, which is, of course, getting that mid jungle going, trying to attack these side lanes. But if they aren't able to get going, that's where things become extremely tricky because you don't see them winning on these side lanes 1-3-1 style with the TF, with the Set against the Camille and the Diana. These are just champions that bring way more damage than what you're going to have over on the side of EMU. So they need to get snowballing here. And while it feels like a big draft loss, in my opinion, because of how comfortable they are on this composition, we could see them really amp up the pace.
There is going to be a slight pause before we get into the game, unfortunately, but bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. We have plenty of time to be able to talk about these drafts. Something else I want to mention, talking about the AOE Prodigy composition, and something I personally love talking about is ease of execution when it comes to the composition, especially when it comes to these mid to late game team fights where most games really get determined. If you look at the two compositions, not only does EMU have a week early needs to hit level 6 comp in order to get around the map, but they also don't have the same ease of execution when it comes to these team fights. You have the Misfortune ultimate, you have the Diana ultimate, you have the Leona CC setup. All of this going to be there to pile on to whatever target you're going to be aiming at, whether it be the Lucian or the Twisted Fate or even the Hecarim or Set up there in the top side of the map. And once that person gets chunked down low, then you can allow for the vehicle to reset throughout the jungle. And that's really where this composition starts to get super scary, is that it's not just an AoE composition, it is an AoE composition with execution potential in Norway on that Viego jungle.
Right, and AoE, like, to their name, they are bringing so much area of effect damage, right? Because you have the Diana, you have the MF. These are the real big crux to the composition. So bot lane is going to be paramount here as they try and shut down this MF Leona duo. But regardless of, even if they are, I would say 3,000 or even 5,000 gold behind in certain situations, they can still come out on top, especially around these objective battles where they do pack in just way more team fight damage than on the flip side.
Getting into game one here, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have Eastern Michigan University heading it up on the blue side, AOE Prodigies on the red side. It's going to be an exciting start to this game here, as we see both teams are going to be starting off with their standard 5-point positions here. Interesting to note, Meow did go back in order to get that red trinket, but it's a support in K-God for the side of AOE Prodigies that is able to pick up the red trinket for themselves. So already, you see K-God wants to try and not just provide vision for his own team, but they're looking to apply some pressure early by denying vision from the enemy team.
Yeah, not too surprising for a support move. Usually, maybe in solo queue, you are going to value that extra ward a little bit more, but when you do have a lot more information that's coming through, that's a lot more fluid because you have team comms in this instance, you are a little bit more willing to give that up. We'll see how the early lane phase does go with the Hecarim. Of course, both of these junglers looking for full clear for the most part, but at the very least, we do see Meow going for the Ghost, which is the ideal play if you're trying to make early plays. Also can scale a lot better, but a nice little one trade. This is exactly where Set is successful in a lot of lanes, where he just has to go in level 1. If he doesn't take the level 1 trade, more often than not, he will lose out on the lane. So him understanding that at the very least sets himself to a solid start. It will still need to execute, of course.
It's all about execution at the end of the day, isn't it, Nightstar? And that is what really this early game, I think, is going to define who comes out with this series better. If we see a strong early start by EMU, I can expect them to continue to run away with the game with their pick style composition, their ability to pile onto a fight at any given moment. Meanwhile, on the other side, though, you start wading to these mid to late game team fight situations, and it becomes a lot scarier for the side of Eastern Michigan University, just because of, as you said before, that namesake composition coming in here from the side of AOE with all of that area damage that they have available for themselves. I'm surprised to see, it's going to be a long time before we see any of these junglers try and influence these lanes though, Nightstar, because typically speaking, Hecarim wants to get that onslaught of shadows. Nore wants to have access to that Heartbreaker, that Heart Piercer before they're able to really influence any of these lanes.
Yeah, Hecarim does have some possibilities of ganking early because he has the Ghost available, so he can look for these longer gank routes. But at the moment, both junglers are on opposite crabs on the map, and perhaps looking to converge on a mid, but it does look like Meow could be looking top.
Ooh, big haymaker coming out there by Kanji in order to chunk out Ken of Tin there. As you mentioned, we do have Meow on the top side of the map, unless they're looking for a dive here pre-level 6 on both the jungler and the Twisted Fate. I don't think they're going to make this one happen here. While all this is going on, we do see Nore looking for some deep vision on the opponent here. Drug and Rasenkin are going to be able to get a ward in their Tribush, so they will not be caught off guard here. Great awareness by the bottom lane of Eastern Michigan University to back off, get their ward coverage put down, and not put themselves in a vulnerable position while their jungle was on the top side of the map.
Yeah, playing pretty safe in this instance. However, their wave is, they're really jostling to try and crash this wave here. And unfortunately, you know, that extra ward is going to provide them a lot of safety and be able to crash this wave without worrying too much about that really long gank path. Now, it does look like junglers are getting back onto the map and swapping sides here, so we'll see. This is about where you're looking at those first moves, right? Where it's either a move around bot lane to try and get dragging priority, or maybe it's the side of AoE moving this Leona up into the top side, make sure that they get this Rift Herald to get that extra gold for the Camille. and then draw all that extra power from the Camille into that bot lane with a teleport play.
With Dragon spawning on the map, that is going to be the first objective here available for either side, for either team here, which means that we can expect to see some resets coming in from these mid laners, in particular. Gob able to get his reset off first here, and I do expect Nightingale to want to try and get back to base. But we did see an early teleport just get used by Nightingale, so already able to go back, pick up a amp tone and boots for themselves, and now trying to reclaim that mid lane priority. Interestingly enough, Gobbler deciding not to use that teleport, so he wants to hold on to the summoner spell in case he hits level 6 here, and is able to teleport out of his lane and then go straight back to mid, so he doesn't lose a single moment of CSing in the mid lane.
Yeah, the fact that we do see the teleport burned by Nightingale means that there could possibly be a big play coming down into that bot side. However, AOE able to snag that first dragon is going to be a big deal here. So EMU, whenever you have a big team fight composition, you would love to set yourself up by snagging one of those early on. But
Kanji trying to follow the flash there onto Canada Tin. Really smart heads up play, but not quite enough. We do have Meow coming in from the bottom side of the map, though. You have your jungle on the bottom side of your AOE. Canada Tin, you got nowhere to go, buddy. You have no flash, and that is going to be first blood given over to Meow, but not without trading the life of Kanji. Not the best outcome here for Eastern Michigan University.
Not ideal, but they still kill him under tower, which means he is still going to miss out on a decent chunk of minions in EXP. So all in all, I would still say it's a win for EMU because they were also able to get, of course, the first blood bonus. And being able to deny a little bit extra from Can of Tin is going to help out, but it does mean that there's going to be an ult difference, but a fight coming in on this red buff.
Ooh, Twisife ultimate coming out here, so they know where Norway is. Is he going to be teleporting in? Not quite yet. That's going to be it disappearing here. Nightingale has to flash away as well. A little too far forward with Norway taking that blast cone out, but everybody will be leaving safe from the Eastern Michigan University jungle.
Flash burned in that mid side, but more importantly, this bot lane will still have all of its summoners for that next move coming in from EMU. But the big thing here with Gob, he is currently sitting on the Ignite, which means he doesn't have the TP to actually use it in the bottom lane, given the fact that he did use his ult for that play around the mid or around the red buff. It gives decent amount of reprieve for the side of AOE in that bottom lane, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been 8 minutes already, and we still have not seen Meow or Gob try to really influence this bottom half of the map. Instead, it's a bit of a topside-centric focus here from the side of Eastern Michigan University. Meanwhile, AOE Prodigies, they haven't really made any kind of aggressive moves on the map just quite yet. Instead, it's just understanding the fact that Meow in this Hecarim is going to be on that top side of the map most of this game so far, and going in for invades, looking to steal away camps wherever they can, and more importantly, taking control of this dragon. You were mentioning earlier, Nightstar, when you have these AOE compositions, getting those early drags is really nice because that means that you can force the opponent to play to your tempo at continuous dragons as they spawn, set up early, and you can force the opponent to really need to play into you, which is exactly what this AOE composition wants.
Yeah, it's such a nice spot for AOE, even though they are down 1k gold. Part of that is because of the jungle difference, right? With Meow being able to farm up an absolute storm, Norway unable to actually keep pace in that regard, which is a little bit surprising, even though Viego doesn't exactly farm like a beast. Hecarim isn't exactly the speediest farmer on that first clear, but now that he has gotten through that, he's really picking up the pace.
It's only going to get more difficult here as we have a fight breaking on the bottom side. Drugs has to dash away from that one. So does Resin. Can no summoners use
Possible
except
setup
for
for
the
a dive
by K-God here.
Both sides.
You're right. There's going to be dive set up on the bottom side of the map here by AOE Prodigies. Top side of the map set up by Eastern Michigan University. Nightingale is going to be going in first here. That's the ultimate drop. It's going to be able to blow up Drugs. Razikin pulling up calling here, trying to buy as much time as possible, but Norway will be able to get the reset. Unfortunately, trying to pick up the body there no longer makes you immune to turrets, Norway. So he will be going down 2 for 1, and a huge minion wave denied from the bottom lane of Eastern Michigan University.
Huge mini wave denied in that bottom side, but look at that top side. That top tower is very, very low, and now Hecarim is going to show on the map just to secure that first tower. And it's not a bad trade in that regard. You're able to go 1 kill deficit. You drop a couple plates down in that bottom lane, but on the flip side, you are able to secure first tower gold, which is pretty much the same. And if they pick up this kill here, that really evens up the gold.
Oh, no, Drug. You can't follow that flash when you don't have the pony. You're not fast enough into the misfortune here. Cleanse and flash used by Esmond in order to make sure he gets out alive. So no summoners left on the misfortune, but he lives for now.
Great use of cleanse in that regard because he's able to remove the damage coming out from the ignite. Make sure that he is able to walk out scot-free. And now, while it is almost a 2k gold advantage for the side of EMU, if we could queue up the gold, see where that gold is sitting on. We've got a 600 gold lead in that mid lane. Part of that is TF passive with a little small CS lead. And for the most part, we kind of expected this. It's up in that top lane with that top lane differential. But Camille's still not too shabby with her position.
Fight breaking out here. EMU does not want to allow this team fight to set up properly. KGOT going into the back line. That's going to be a huge ultimate coming out. The bullet time does so much work, but it's going to be God that is able to get on the backside of the map.
The turn?
He's able to get the gold sun down onto the MF. Make sure that they are not able to get the full ultimate, but it is too little, too late. 4 members were caught in that bullet time Night Star, and it is all of them who gets chunked out. They are not able to withstand the rest of the pressure of AOE Prodigies as they take the team fight and they take a second dragon. Oh wait, no, it's EMU that wins the fight.
Yeah, it was such a wild fight because you saw the 4-man ultimate. It felt like it was just done and dusted coming in from Edmonds. What?
I was convinced.
It looks so good, right? But it was EMU with the 2k gold advantage able to turn the fight because the side of AOE, they were a little bit split. You had KGOT and Esmond hanging out on the bottom side of the river in that spot, but then the rest of the squad stuck in that choke point right above them, and that's where they really fell to the pressure from their own amount of AOE damage coming in from EMU, the amount of lockdown, the amount of CC, along with the showstopper coming in from the set, really making a large difference.
And we see after that fight that Meow is 3-0-1 on this Hecarim, absolutely popping off. The Shadow of Onslaught, when you have a team split up like that, allows you to really tear apart those isolated members, and that's probably what happened in that team fight there. Decan of Tin, Nore, and Nightingale, you get feared up, and the rest of EMU just comes crashing down with that showstopper. Absolutely tears apart that team fight, going up 1-for-1 in Dragons here. We are going to be working on a Cloud Soul Rift here. Not the most important dragon in most cases, however, with the Hecarim on the map, one of the best abusers of the Cloud Dragon Soul.
Yeah, and the reason why he gets that extra bit of move speed after he ults, which means he's getting extra damage because of the Hecarim passive, for those who aren't familiar with the champion. But it's also just so important for the side of EMU because it allows them to continue to make plays. They can continue to use these ultimates coming in from TF on a relatively low short cooldown. At the same time, for the side of AOE, because their composition is pretty predicated around teamfight ultimates, it's not too shabby for themselves as well, because it means that they can take teamfight after teamfight non-stop, because after their teamfight ults are down, you can say that they do lack a lot of fighting power coming in from this squad, which would perhaps give EMU a lot of openings and be able to take advantage. But if they're able to accumulate a couple of these Cloud Dragons, that won't be as exploitable.
We'll have to wait and see how these further Cloud Dragon fights play out, but for now, it is a 3,500 gold lead in favor of Eastern Michigan University after that last team fight, gaining themselves just that much more gold as they were able to find a successful team fight here. a lot of that still being put into the top side of the map, though we must note that Resinkin was able to finish up his Kraken Slayer after that last team fight, now sitting 2-1-2 on the bottom half of the map as we, for the first time, get to see these bottom laners really start playing on the Rift here, as it was so quiet towards this bottom half previously. Colin coming out here, trying to just chunk out Esmond, but a great body blocking there coming in from K-God, putting up the shield in order to make sure that he does not take too much damage. Meanwhile, mid lane, that's going to be a flash forward. That's going to be the root. Nightingale trying to turn this one around, though. Norway is going to be putting out so much damage to ultimate. Ooh, great Zhonya's in order to stop the Heartbreaker, but it's not going to be enough as one more sash comes over from Nightingale. Meanwhile, K-God trying to rotate over, making sure that Drug is not able to influence this fight. He's going to be able to dash over the wall, but will Norway be able to follow Flash? That will be a second kill, as K-God is able to pick this one up 2-0 by AOE Prodigies.
Prodigies, they take advantage of a bit of an overforce coming in from ENU, trying to find a kill onto that Diana, but still, even though TF is ahead, he doesn't pack that extra oomph that you do expect from a fed mid laner in that mid side, but now dive's happening. Oh, they're pulling off.
Going to be a dive coming in here. Norway has to back away here. K-God goes back in. Meow.
K-God
so long here. The red buff is going to be able to kill him there as Meow is able to pick up a kill. Failed dive. That's going to be the Twisted Fate ultimate coming in on the backside, though. Esmond, flash forward by Razica, is able to take him down. Now one more dash forward. Norway drops down extremely low. Dash away, but the gold card follows it up. And it's a dive by AOE Prodigies, but it's a triple kill here by Eastern Michigan University. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Canopton gets pulled back, casts the hook shot away to safety here. As it just seems like every time AOE, they look for something, they get something small, but Eastern Michigan University is always prepared to answer in full.
And they just lost track of that TF ultimate cooldown. Right then and there, they get instantly turned around on even Esmond. He was really the big crux of that dive. He had to be the one to really output most of the damage in that situation, but he didn't have the mana to use his ultimate, so that's like most of your DPS gone from the MF. Not to mention he did have his Kraken Slayer available on his return. So a lot of power that didn't come through from the MF, and that's going to be really punished here by the side of EMU, as they will secure the first Cloud Dragon and put themselves on the path to the Cloud Soul.
Not only were they able to pick up a Cloud Dragon for themselves, but they also get that bottom lane turret into the pockets of Gobbler there, as he's able to pick up that turret for himself. I do want to note that he's working towards that ever classic RFC second item here for the Twisted Fate. We'll be foregoing the Zhonya's as a second item. So next team fight that they find themselves in here, Eastern Michigan University, and Gobbler in particular does have to be a little bit careful about where he ports into. Maybe not going to be able to pull off that same backline dive that he was able to do around that second Dragon team fight that they found so successful for themselves. But with RFC, it does make the gold card combo so much easier to do with that downtown auto attack range that you can get in order to stun up, in particular, Esmond, who he's been focusing so hard in these team fights, making sure that that bullet time doesn't get nearly as much impact as it should be around these big objectives.
And now the setup's going to be incredibly important for the side of AOE. They are down 4k gold, and while I did say, 3 to 5k isn't the worst of spots coming in for AOE in these team fights, now you're really a little bit down when it comes to these side lanes, right? Even though you do have the Divine Thunder completed onto the Camille, even though Camille will outscale the set right now is in such a power position. Has a completed Gore Drinker, halfway to completing the Sterix. He's just got such a large gold advantage that he's not really worried about the 1v1 at the moment, as we do have the gold pulled up. It's 15. It's a very, very large gold lead in that top lane. It's 1700. But now the turn top side,
Ooh, that's going to be the engage coming in from Eastern Michigan University. Nightingale not able to stick onto Gobbler here as he teleports forward, and now with the ultimate able to stun up both players here from the side of AOE Prodigies, but is not going to be enough. Double kill going over to this Hecarim, sitting pretty at 7-0 in 1. Rasenkin pulling out the culling, but is going to whiff just a little off on the angle there. Esmond will have to back away, and it's just map-wide pressure here from the side of Eastern Michigan.
And this Hecarim is just so large that that's actually been able to swing a lot of these 1-3-1 matchups. As Can of Tin does take a small trade around this blue buff, it does look like they're trying to jostle for this blue buff, as it does look like Set will be able to secure it for himself, but the collapse could come in onto the Set now.
Well, Can of Tin was able to take away that blue buff. Good on them. You hate to see that if you're the side of Eastern Michigan University, but we can see just how confident they're playing here. They're feeling confident enough to be able to try and contest that blue buff in enemy vision, deep within enemy territory. And, you know, yes, you lose out on it, but you can just see how much pressure they have right now. Picking up that mid lane turret as well does mean that Eastern Michigan University will have access to some deeper ward coverage. I like to see that AOE Prodigies are already keeping their ward coverage very defensive and making sure that they're trying to just stop this bleeding as much as possible here with that strong line of wards they have going along the bottom side of the map, in particular around a lot of the entrances to their side of the jungle.
And the big thing here for the side of ENUM is, again, they've been really good at making do and taking advantage of this mid jungle. They've been really trying to impact these sides. For the side of AOE, they haven't really grouped up as 5 quite yet, so we haven't seen the big power of that team fight composition. Yes, we had that one dragon fight, but that was it. After they lost that, they were just like, man, I really don't want a 5v5 ever again. So they really shied away, and that is, you can't do that here because you're starting to lose on these side lanes, so you need to pull out more of these 5v5 moments.
And you hate to see that kind of mentality being adopted here from the Prodigies. You can't give up on a composition. If you draft AOE teamfight compositions, you have to play towards that. You took one bad fight or lost one fight in the early stages of this game, but that doesn't mean it's all doom and gloom from there. Continue to play towards that win con as we see a bit of engage coming in here by AOE Prodigies. It is
now they're going to turn.
Moved away here though as K-God. He's going to be forced to drop the ultimate early, but it doesn't matter here as Esmond gets instantly jumped on. K-God nowhere around to be able to defend him as he was blown up before the fight could even start there. And with the dragon spawning in 15 seconds here, Nightstar, that is going to be Eastern Michigan University having priority of the map. That is going to be having priority of the Joggin. But more importantly, they're rotating up towards this Baron already.
Looking at Baron here and also being able to force the teleport coming in from a Nightingale. He does TP out of there. Worried that he might get collapsed upon that top spot now. And halfway down, but it looks like they're peeling off. Nightingale's probably dead.
And of 10, you can't be TPing that deep because that means you leave Nightingale with nowhere to go. The Twist of Fate ultimate does find all the members of AOE Prodigies trying to collapse onto that Baron. They are going to be able to stop the Baron attempt for now here, Nightstar, which means it's going to be a Dragon as a consolation prize. But once they do pick up this Drake, they'll be putting themselves on soul point. And as we mentioned before, for a team with a Hecarim, with a team with such big ultimates, it's not that bad of a Dragon, considering that most of the time people consider it the weakest one.
Yeah, and now for the side of AOE, they're in a very, very rough spot. They're going to try and collapse down onto Kanji, but that's a lot of chase that you're going to try to apply onto just a set, by the way.
Yeah, Kanji doing a great job backing away here.
K-God's
K-God. Oh no, not again. The Leona always being caught without the rest of their team there. You feel bad for K-God. He's trying his best to make sure that his team is able to get to safety, but it just always ends up being the sacrificial lamb. Can of Tin. That is going to be a failed flash over the wall. That's going to be your life cost at the end of the day there. Now with EMU all towards the top side of the map, you can expect they're going to be looking towards this Baron once more.
That's 2 people down. Nightingale is going to show bot side, so that's just going to prompt EMU to just straight turn for this Baron buff. And EMU they're just so much better in these skirmish situations. And again, like Prodigy, at this point, because of how far your solo laners were put behind, you don't win in these side lane skirmishes anymore. You need to 5v5, and they've ignored that condition for themselves, and they continue to try and fight these skirmishes at every single time. Like, even if things were to go perfectly and they were able to land a lot of these Leona CCs, I don't think it would have gotten much better. You still would lose the Leona right after that engage, and you would still lose whoever else right afterwards as well. So it's just, it's not the greatest shot calling look coming in from AOE Prodigies, and I hope they do have someone waiting on the wings that is watching the game, that's able to, after this game, get back in, call with them, and be like, all right, these are the things that we didn't do. You didn't recognize the win conditions of our composition, so let's just go back to basics and try and figure things out in game number 2.
And it really does feel like it's just an off mark from that 5-man composition that they want to be playing here. They haven't grouped up, as you mentioned. They haven't been playing around Esmond, really. And the Nightingale Esmond combo of the Moonfall alongside the bullet time and allowing themselves to chunk out everyone on the side of Eastern Michigan University. And we got to start asking ourselves, is an 8,000 gold lead too much of a gold lead for this AOE composition to be able to chunk through anybody on the side of Eastern Michigan University? We have the Onslaught of Shadows. That's going to be the gold card with the RFC that is able to make this pick happen here. Zanya's buying time, but not enough. Nightingale goes down. Meanwhile, on top side of the map, Kanji taking a fight versus Canatin. The bottom lane turret, inner turret is going to be going down. We'll see this 1v1. That's the ultimate coming out. Canatin trying to buy as much time as possible. The Slag Sweep. Oh, great dodge onto the showstopper there, but it's not going to be enough if the drop to the bottom side of the map. It's going to be a huge team fight coming out here from Eastern Michigan University, and it's going to be an absolute wipe. Double kill for Rasengan here. Gobbler teleporting into the backline just to make sure that there is nowhere Norway can go. Triple kill for the Lucian. Kanji wins the 1v1 in the side lane. It is absolute disaster here as only drugs go down, and Eastern Michigan University, they are looking to end game 1 in style here.
EMU absolutely steamrolling game number 1 as AOE, they stood no chance. They failed on that one team fight that they really called, and since then there was 0 team fights afterwards. It was a skirmish after skirmish, and in those situations, EMU, they came out on top over and over again.
And we saw there in that situation, it was the 1v1 on the top side that was won by Kanji. The Camille can never scale into that mid to late game split push that we were hoping she'd be. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, it is a 4v4 underneath turret. So a 5v4 if you count the turret as a member here, and it is a wipe. Only drugs goes down at the end of the day here. Eastern Michigan University, they go up by like 10,000 gold by the end of the game. 8,000 going into that team fight. Absolute class act coming here from the first seed team coming in from that Ocean division. They proving to us why they are the 5-0 team that is heading up that first seed from their division.
Yeah, and drafts be damned. It's all about the execution, right? And for the side of EMU, they were the ones to execute around their win conditions. They used the TF ultimate very, very cleanly, and they were just constantly attacking the map. And the side of AOE Prodigies, they had limited time windows to try and punch back, give them the big old haymaker because of that team fight AOE composition, but they were never able to find that punch to land.
And it's always tragedy to see the game get that far out of control for a team that wants to get these big team fights, and they just never can. In particular, K-God constantly trying to defend the members of his team who are getting picked off, and instead it's his life that gets thrown away. And when you have Leona as one of the big initiation tools on your team, yes, you can have the Diana go in, yes, you can have the Camille go forward, or the Viego, but they aren't the CC. They aren't the tank that needs to be playing that front line. And because K-God was constantly dying as the sacrificial lamb for his team, we never got to see a full team fight happen with them getting the initiation, them getting the full setup, and it just fell apart from there for the side of AOE Prodigies.
Yeah, and so that means AoE, they're gonna have to go back to the drawing board, identify what went wrong, whether it's in the shot calling or maybe they're just not comfortable on the set of champions. But I mean, we'll have to find out in game number 2.
Yeah, and with that, we're going to be throwing it over to a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. Do not go anywhere. Do not touch your browser. We'll see you for game 2 to draft in just a couple of minutes. Welcome back, gamers, as we're getting ready here for game 2 to be set up between Eastern Michigan University and AOE Prodigies. Eastern Michigan University giving us a lecture on how they got first seed here as we see them coming into game 1 with a very commanding lead, and they kind of just took over the game from start to finish there, Nightstar.
Yeah, that was definitely a proper read on that, Icarus, because they absolutely steamrolled that game, and it really started out with that dive up in the top lane. I was kind of expecting a lot more attention to be thrown into that bot side, but they identified, hey, we have an opportunity to dive the Camille, set her behind, and after she gets put behind and we get a second kill onto her, that's pretty much job done, because then the set just accumulates such a large lead that even the Camille, even though she is going to outscale the set in the matchup, just doesn't have the resources to hit those scaling timings.
Yeah, and we're hopping straight into pick and ban here, ladies and gentlemen. Fast start here as both of these teams are going to be staying on the same side here. AOE opting to stick towards that red side. It is a best of 3 series here, so they are hoping that they can enter into this pick draft, maybe change things up a little bit here, as last time around we did see a first pick TF of all things coming in from Eastern Michigan University. So I wonder how they're going to be approaching a draft like that. We do see the Tristana band coming in here again from Eastern Michigan University. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So might as well follow the exact same draft plan as before, right?
For sure. So they understand that if they're going to throw in a couple more resources up into that top side, they need to take away a lot of the 2v2 AD carry champions on the side of AOE. And okay, now it looks like they are going to take away the rel from themselves, but at the same time it could also be just say AOE, they probably figured out, hey, that was a big problem in game number 1, so we'll look to try and take it away and give ourselves a lot of that team fight engage. But EMU go ahead, deny that away, and now the Hecarim on the table, so they're shifting their priorities, and we'll see if they go for a triple jungle ban setup here against Meow and really allow Gobbler to just get whatever pick he wants. If he goes back onto the TF pick, it feels like Nightingale wants to play the Diana into that matchup, but it's not really about the 1v1, it's about how you're able to interact on the map, and AOE, they were always behind on the map.
I didn't see enough aggression out of Nightingale in order to warrant that pick coming out from the side of AOE Prodigies. If you're going to be picking the Diana, you have to be looking for super aggressive 1v1s throughout the laning phase. You have to be on top of this Twisted Fate so he never has a chance to shove out the lane or harass you with the red and gold cards. Instead, it just looked like Gobbler was able to kind of sit back, AFK, clear out waves, and then he got a couple of great ultimates in, and by the time that Nightingale was able to look for grouping up with the team and making big team fights happen, it was just a little too late. There was too much of a lead, and EMU just ran away with the rest of the game. It's not going to be the triple here from AOE Prodigies. They are going to be still banning out that LeBlanc, which means the Twisted Fate is still up and available for Gobbler if he wanted to first pick that champion again. Showing confidence on it in game 1, he does have the ability to go for it one more time, but with the Rel being banned, with the Thresh taken off the table, it is a setup here for the Leona pick to potentially come in here from the side of Eastern Michigan University, and they will go for it, taking that one off the board. So it's going to have to be a new plan of attack here for AOE Prodigies. They can still pick up the MF though, Nightstar, if they still think that that is going to be the answer. Xayah is also available for themselves, so a couple of picks here that AOE Prodigies can be looking into.
So it's a different approach this time around, going for bans towards that bot side and then locking in the Leona, which while it seems like it's a good idea, it also means that AOE, they have the ability to respond with their own support pick, because of course last time around it got into the second phase where you were able to take away things like the Braum, but AOE, looks like they've identified that they want to deny away the Lucian pick, so currently hovering Lucian. And instead of locking in the Nami, because they know they can grab the Nami on the third pick, they're looking to deny away the Xin pick from Meow.
I like that a lot. Understanding that you're not going to be putting this Leona anywhere besides the support role, so you can save that Nami for later in the rotation. Get your hands on a priority pick in the jungle, since they did ban away that Hecarim and that Lee Sin. Going to be leaving up the Viego, potential for Olaf if you want to go that deep into the pool here for Meow. So have to see what he ends up pulling out in the jungle. Because the Lucian was locked in, it does mean that the Misfortune will be going over towards Eastern Michigan University. So a swap of the bottom lanes here, though I do expect the Nami to be picked up this time instead of the Rel, with it being banned out here from the side of AOE. What is going to be their final pick? I am hoping that they're able to find a jungler for themselves here in Nightstar, because if they don't, then they're leaving themselves up for another rotation of bans to come in.
Okay. Alright, so, the hover onto the Shaco, I had a lot of questions about that one, but perhaps it would have worked out. I mean, perhaps it would have worked out with how they want to play around the mid 2v2, but I think the Kiana offers just a little bit more when it comes to the teamfight setup because you already have such strong teamfight power in the Leona, in the MF, and the Kiana can skirmish and teamfight at the same time, which is not what you can say about Shaco. And we do see the Braum locked in from AOE. The Braum does, offer a little bit of 2v2 power similar to the Nami, but it also is such a great denial pick against a Leona. When she goes in, you can instantly take her with an auto attack or the Winner's Bite, and you can instantly shut her down as well, prevent her from really pushing forward into your team. And the door, of course, does work against the MF ultimate. I still think Braum is going to get blasted if he eats an entire MF ultimate, but, at the very least, you sacrifice your door for the sake of the team, am I right?
I mean, we saw K-God sacrificing his life for the betterment of his team all last game. He's just doing it more efficiently this time around. This time he has the door in order to absorb some of that damage. We are going to have a lot of mid lane focus in these upcoming bans here, though, Nightstar, as it is going to be that Twisted Fate taken off of the board this time around, so not going to be able to give that one over to Gobbler. The Orianna also being taken away here. Victor and Ryze, some late game scaling AP damage sources coming in from Eastern Michigan University. Looking at just banning out more of these mid laners here. AOE will have priority on who they want to play in the top lane, or in the top or mid lane here, so they have to reveal one of their solo laners coming into this phase of the band of the picks here, as Ryze was officially taken off the board. They are going to need some form of magic damage. We have a lot of 80 from both compositions so far. What are they looking to round out their team comps with?
And that's not to say for EMU that they just don't move this Kiana into that mid lane for Gobbler, because Kiana is a champion that can roam very, very easily and very, very quickly. And that fits their playstyle to a T. And now they're looking...
No.
Okay, it's not
we're going to ignore it.
But the Camille pick, once again, coming through from AOE, they apparently really like this pick, as it does establish a decent amount of 1-3-1 threat and okay amounts of team fight potential. But when you have Gwen and when you have Anivia, there's just so much team fight that you can do as a Camille, and against those two champions, it's probably not it.
What I like about this composition from EMU in particular, and something that we saw lacking from the side of AOE Prodigies when they try to run this very, very similar composition last game, is the ability to provide multiple sources of peel for the misfortune. When you have Camille, Viego, you have a Leona as your support there, and a Diana, that's not going to be enough from the side of AoE to keep this misfortune safe. They're kind of on their own. Esmond was alone all game trying to find a position to toss out the bullet time without being pressured. You have an Anivia now here from the side of Eastern Michigan University. You just throw down that frost field, and suddenly nobody on the side of AoE Prodigies is going to be able to close that gap onto Rastikin, and he could just get out the free bullet time. You have Meow that has the ability to push people back, and Kanji likes to play more of a frontline bruiser style for his team, and instead of diving towards the back, he should just be going toe-to-toe with whoever the enemy is in their face, which provides so much more space for the misfortune this time around. We do see that the Azir is the final lock in here for AoE Prodigies, finally providing in some of that late game scaling magic damage that they were hoping to get. Outside of the Victor and Ryze, Azir, fantastic pickup.
Azir, I feel like really is just kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel, though. You would much rather have one of the previous champions that they just ramp up a lot faster at the moment. And the other issue is with the Azir pick, you have to be careful in not using your ultimate for an engage, for a hero play, because you really need to protect yourself more so because of the rest of the draft. It's a full AD composition other than the Azir. So we have to be really careful on where this Azir is positioned in these team fights. Make sure he's not caught out, because that's another frustrating part of this composition from EMU, right? Anytime you have a Gwen can just ruin your back line if your front line just overextends, because, well, I mean, she's immune.
As we're heading back onto the Rift here, ladies and gentlemen, game 2 between Eastern Michigan University and AOE Prodigies. It is going to be another game of both these teams being on blue and red side respectively, but this time around, I'm a huge fan of level 1 invades here, and it looks like AOE Prodigies, they want to try and make something happen here. So they're going to go for some deep wards on that top side of the map here, Nightstar.
Looks like they're looking for a fight, but they won't be able to get one. They'll instead just put down the ward onto the blue buff. So getting a little bit of early vision, help track where Meow goes. That's going to be really important because, I mean, Can of Tin dying in that top side early on was a little bit due to the fact that they weren't able to keep track of where that Hecarim did go. And I mean, the Camille just didn't manage the waves well enough and ended up being put in a spot where the dive did happen. And this time around, shouldn't occur, but something still to keep track of.
Something I do want to think about here as well is we were talking all last game about Gobbler liking to leave his lane, liking to go and influence his side lanes, and making his way around the map in order to provide pressure for his solo laners, for his solo lane on the top side and for his bottom lane. This time around on the Anivia, that is not exactly your heaviest roaming champion that you have possible. Gobbler's instead looking to just kind of neutralize a lot of these team fights with Camille, Xin Zhao, Lucian, all trying to look to dive forward, and these very short range composition that AOE Prodigies has drafted for themselves. It does mean that Anivia is there more to just zone in all these fights, not so much. Oh my god, that's gonna be a flash coming up by Norway. Hold on a second here. The knockup, that's gonna be the stun underneath turret, though. Why do you have to go underneath for the knockup there, Norway, as you go down for first blood? Meow is able to find that one with a flash of his own. Rassikin is going to get stunned up on the bottom side of the map. It's level 1s for both of these bot laners here. No flash coming from the solution to make the kill happen just quite yet, as it's going to be a near stun coming in from Jugs, but he's able to flash away from that one. Mid lane one more time we get to, as Gobbler dropping down so low here. First blood, Eastern Michigan University.
What a big pick up already in that mid lane, because that is also Zin losing his buffs. Again, low. Oh no, Drug went in, and that's probably going to be a kill.
You can't be going in that deep, Drug. You have no flash anymore. That's going to be the flash. That's going to be the piercing light. That's going to be the double tap on the Rassikin, but not quite enough space here for Esmond. Flash war coming from Kagon Norn trying to make the concussive blows happen, but it will not be enough. Instead, it's going to be the rain of bullets that comes in. Not enough to finish off Esmond. He should be able to shove in this wave to turret and be able to get a nice reset for himself with that kill.
At the very least, Rassikin isn't going to get denied the CS here, as they're more than likely looking to try and set for a recall. I was a little bit worried they would try to force the dive there. While it would have been possible, it's not the worst spot to try and attempt to dive. They just weren't sure if Drug would be there in time to counter that dive attempt. So they go for the much better odds play with the recall, cash in, get themselves a pickaxe early on. And yeah, so one of my concerns with this draft was Gobbler, okay, put onto more of a control mage. Okay, Rome coming in, Drug.
That is going to be Drug showing up in the mid lane here early for the side of Eastern Michigan University. Will mean that Nightingale needs to flash away, so the Seer will be vulnerable for the next 5 minutes or so to another gank in the mid lane.
Big pickup there on the flash, burning that away from the Azir. And going back to my point about Gobbler being on this Anivia pick, a playstyle that's much different than what we've seen previously. It'll be interesting just to see how the playstyle changes from this team, right? Because this will be our 5th game of watching them. They've pretty much played skirmish heavy and not so much about these team fights. And in fact, when it comes down to just sheer 5v5, they've looked to struggle a little bit in that regard. So much different flavor this time around, and could set themselves up to, hey, maybe if they show a strong performance with this composition, they're immediately just the front runner to just win it all.
you do like to see if a team is not only able to win on their normal compositions, but they bring out something different than their normal playstyle here. A win on this AOE team fighting composition would be a huge setup here for Eastern Michigan University. Do you ban out their mid lane roaming style? Do you ban out their AOE team fight setup compositions? You never know versus the likes of Eastern Michigan University. So far, it's been a fairly slow early game. Norway still waiting on that flash to come back up. Maybe a little bit hesitant to make plays happen as both junglers aiming towards that level 6. In particular, Meow really wanted to get access to that ultimate display, supreme display of power before trying to influence any of these lanes.
And Meow, waiting to get that level 6 there, but gifted that early kill into the mid lane. Really helps out his ramp up. Or a gold lead. Or Can of Tin actually going in. Has to fight against the minions here.
That's level 6 coming in from Kanji, though. That's going to mean the needlework is able to come out, and Kanji takes the turnaround kill and finds the 1v1 in the top lane. Excellent awareness there by the Gwen to realize you're just 1 minion away. Meanwhile, bottom side of the map, that's going to be the stun. Razikin, there is nowhere to go, my friend, as he gets taken down. Great concussive blows coming in from K-God in order to make that one happen.
Great play down in that bottom side. It was really just an overextension coming in from Razikin, having the jungler up in the top side. Well, yeah, you really have no business in going to try and ward up, peek out what's down in that bottom side of the map. And that means bot lane is put in quite a large deficit. Already down 2 waves or down 3 waves. They're going to miss even more so with those waves crashing into that tower.
First Dragon will be going over to the side of AOE Prodigies. Once again, we're seeing a little bit of that top side versus bot side focus here. As this time around, though, the Prodigies are able to find some kills into the hands of Esmond, who's sitting at 2-0. With the first Dragon being a Windrake, second one being an Infernal, we can expect it's either going to be a Mountain or Ocean Soul this game. Both considerably more impactful to the state of the game than that Wind Soul, as both will be contributing to a lot of survivability. So either composition really appreciating being able to take these team fights and feeling much safer if they're able to find that soul for themselves.
Yeah, and another just dynamic to it is just what kind of rift we end up getting, because if it ends up being a mountain rift, man, these choke points are so deadly, because look at how much AoE is on the side of EMU. They have the bullet time, they have the Nivea ulti, and you add more terrain, that's more power for this pick.
Ooh, Nightingale with the flash, with the dash away, is able to keep himself safe for now, but that's going to be the flash over coming in from Gobbler to finish off the kill. Norre, he's there, he's doing so much work, but not quite able to find the kill onto Meow. A turret shot, will be able to finish that one off. There was nowhere for this Kiana to go. K-God wants to try and find his way onto the Nivea, but is really struggling here when it's only just a support. We might see Gobbler make a cross-map play here. For some reason, Canatins is on the bottom side of the map, though. Concussive blows will be activated in just a second here. Egg Nivea coming out. Esmond will be the one walking up to be donated the kill. No, Nightingale instead will be the person. Shutdown gold being given over to the Azir.
That was big. Being able to get both of those kills, and I gotta say, I'm a little bit confused why Meow ended up just gifting the kill over to Zen. Yes, you would deny assist gold if you in that situation, but at the same time, you could just give over 300 gold to the Braum instead, which is going to be a lot less impactful than if you were to give 300 to the Zen Zhao.
I like to see this play coming in from AOE Prodigies here, though, Nightstar. They moved their bottom lane up to the middle side of the map, and that's why we saw them.
But now they're trapped
on the Nivea. Now they're trapped, though. As you were saying, Drugs is going to be going forward. He's the only one in the pit, though, which means he's getting chucked out extremely low. Nobody's managed to be able to get onto Esmond just by yet.
Going to
Kanji has already used the needlework, creating so much space, buying so much time without survivability. It's going to be a 1-for-2 at the end of the day. Nightingale Pinch will be forced to flash out, but to no regard as he goes down to the bullet time. AoE, they got there early, but they were not prepared with the numbers, as there was no teleport available from Can of Tin. Now, with that being said, Kanji, who had his teleport, is able to make it towards the bottom side of the map. Not going to be, so scary here for the side of AoE.
I don't know about that Gwen TP, but as been he's going to be dead here. Yeah, he dies. But okay, look at the turn. That's actually a really nice play as Kenneth Tin once more overextends himself, overstays in some of these situations. And he just dies once more. So far, haven't been too impressed with the Camille here, but I mean, obviously, game number one, he didn't get the opportunity as the game was essentially over from very early on. But even in this game, too, has a few more opportunities. He's really just kind of going for a lot of Hail Mary plays that seem a little bit unnecessary. But I mean, he really wanted to take advantage of that Kanji mistake because that really was a massive mistake. Teleporting bot lane where you're at a third HP is more often than not just
a bad
sending
idea.
the wrong message to your team.
I mean, it's exactly why Kenneth felt free to go for that play there, despite the fact that Drugs was there. He almost makes it out alive if he didn't get completely CC trained underneath turret. A flash might have been the play in order to get himself away. But unfortunately, Kenneth not running that flash. Instead, the Ignite and Teleport available
Everyone's
for
bot
this
lane.
Camille. Everyone is bottom lane. That's a dashboard for Esmond. The Hex Flash trying to get forward here. The Witcher fight will tag on the
Teleport
Drugs.
coming
Who
in
has
behind.
to go forward here. It's going to be a Teleport coming in from behind by the side of EMU. And already we see that Nore is dead. It's going to be the collapse. It started off as a 3v3, but now it is a 4v2 here for the side of AOEs. Immediately, we see Esmond and K-God go down to the hands of Gobbler. They keep trying to force these fights, and they're just not happening.
You can see the ramifications of the early mistake coming in from Norway. But now Kenneth Tin, it looks like he's finally getting to that scaling point.
Ooh, he's dashing forward. He's able to get so much damage down onto Kanji.
Oh, here comes the
so
heals.
much work here, healing up here with all that percentage damage. Kenneth Tin has to find an opportunity. He has the ultimate in just a second here. Trying to build up on those Q stacks as well, but instead, it is going to be Kanji that is able to back off, and it's going to be the second dragon in this game going over to EMU. No, Kanji, you can't step that far forward. Waiting for the CC chain to disappear. The immunity will no longer be there. But Kanji with the turnaround, full stacks, baby. Norway wants to clean this up. Don't let the healing do this to you too, Nori. We saw what just happened to Kenneth Tin. He won more auto attack will mean that Nori is able to finish off that kill, and the Jin Zhao is able to go 1-for-1.
Oh, I feel like towards the end of that, Kenneth Tin just thought that he could autopilot that fight. He just didn't see enough out of there, and he actually gets it turned on its head. Kanji coming out in the 1v1, even though that fight started very dire for him. And AOE, while they are able to get 360 gold from turret plates, it does get returned down in that bottom side, and Nightingale also has to burn his ultimate, so he won't have that for a little bit. I mean, once again, EMU, even with this teamfight composition, managing to find the skirmishes.
Yeah, and they found so many kills once again onto their jungler as well here. Meow sitting at 5-1 in 3, feeling so confident that he also just goes underneath turret to force that ult out of Nightingale. Luckily, there is no objectives coming up. That means that the ultimate's important. While Drugs getting dived in the mid lane,
Comes the turn.
is able to stall up for super long amount of time, and immediately Asma just goes down to the hands of Gobbler there, as once again we see a fight being forced here by AOE, and Eastern Michigan University is just so prepared to collapse.
And K-God, he's just wondering, wait, why wasn't my Leona that tanky? Because they just could not kill that champion. She lived for so long, but it's really just a difference of playing Leona from ahead and then playing Leona from behind. When you do get leads as a melee support, you're just really abnormally tanky. Then on the flip side, of course, set behind, you just look... you're not even a support, you just pop so quickly. But now in this bottom lane, 2v1 possibly happening this time around, will be able to get out. He recognizes he needs to get out, and man, it is rough goings, rough times for AOE Prodigies.
You gotta wonder, is this still tilt from the last game? You're hoping not, but with how aggressive they've been playing and just how close they are to winning some of these fights, it is not feeling good. And that slow wear down on their mental game with the pressure of this series being their potential last game here in Unified Minor Leagues, they want to win this game, then that means that they have to keep looking for these plays, and sometimes it just doesn't work out, and it is a scary situation. Being 5,000 gold down at 15 minutes, you don't have any kind of dragon lead, you don't have any kind of turret lead just quite yet, and the longer this game goes on, the scarier it's looking for you versus that Gwen, versus that Anivia, who will be able to permanently freeze out these waves and provide a huge amount of front line for their team. They do have the Azir, they do have the Camille to try and answer these strong solo laners, but when you're behind, it feels like you're just never quite able to catch up.
That's a really tough spot here. And I mean, you could say that they have okay scaling because they have a Camille, they have an Azir. Xin, I mean, compositionally will scale, but doesn't really scale as a champion. Can of 10, though, once again, running into problems.
Ooh, Kanji going forward, and needlework, great. Hexcycle
good dodge.
Normation by so much time. They're dodging out all 5 of those needles, but what they ignite now, that means that Can of Tin is able to finally find a 1v1 for himself. This time, the healing not going to be enough for Kanji as the Camille finally coming online. Ooh, Gobbler
Now,
has to flash away. That's going to be the weakness fight still.
Good wall.
There. Great wall to block out the Gale Force there. Nothing else can be done by Esmond as he has to walk away.
Denying that dash makes such a difference because it could have just been the double tap coming through, which would have resulted in the stun coming through and then the follow-up from K-God. But well played from Gobbler. And now AOE. They're trying to dig for plays, but going back to the compositional issues, because you do have the Lucian pick, it just doesn't add as much value as a lot of other AD carries at this point in the game when you're headed into the team fight phase. If it's a more skirmish heavy, skirmish centric map state, then you're perfectly fine playing the Lucian. But in this state where there's so much AoE control from EMU with, you know, the Supreme Display of Talent, with the Nivea ult, and of course that bullet time, there's just so much zone control that it's going to be difficult for this Lucian to really ever get into these fights.
The only thing that Lucian really has going for himself is setting up his own culling through some of these narrow mountain rift corridors, or being able to dash over the additional walls that have been put on the map. But as you were saying earlier, Nightstar, the rift changes that come with this mountain soul are oh so important. We see that AoE, they don't even bother to walk through their own bottom side of the jungle to contest this dragon, knowing that if Anivia and Kiana are already set up around this dragon pit, they're too little too late, and they're going to be AoE'd into the next game, or actually out of this game, if they try and take that fight. Kenneton is going to be looking for a map teleport, but it might be a late here as it actually ends up getting canceled. Kanji not able to go forward with that one as Nightingale is able to find the ultimate. Egnivia forced out there. Cleanse coming in by Esmond. Bullet time will be coming out and trying to disengage from this fight. K-God puts up the wall, is able to walk away here. Meow wants to try and keep this one going with flash forward. That's good for the Supreme Display. Stand at the stun. Meow with the electrocute is able to go unstoppable as he finds himself a 6th kill in this game.
Very, very clean execution once more from Meow, and it's been really the star of the show in this game number 2. Previous game, he was also putting it on quite the performance as well. Yes, the TF contributed a lot, but it was all about playing around the Hecarim, and in this game, it wasn't around playing around this Kiana, it was really the Kiana playing around herself and making plays around the map for her team.
And you love to see those kind of aggressive playstyles coming in when you are playing these assassins in the jungle. Kiana being one of the most recent power picks alongside the Talon that we've been seeing at Worlds over the past couple of patches here. And when you're able to find these picks, you're able to make these very aggressive plays. That is really when you see these assassin picks pop off here. Already completing the Eclipse and the Yomu's Ghost Blade. It's going to be so quick to run around the map. Hasn't even completed those tier 2 boots yet, and still she seems to be everywhere at the right time. We see a fight happen in the mid lane that gets started by AoE, and every single time Eastern Michigan University and Meow in particular Meow and Gobbler in particular are always there to follow up and always there to shut down any kind of plays that AoE Prodigies have been trying to make this game.
Yeah, it's been yet again an absolute clinic. And yes, they have conceded 8 kills, so it's not exactly a shutout, but at the same time, you feel like a lot of these kills, they don't feel super consequential, except for perhaps the 1v1 kills up in between these top laners. I mean, they've been moved around quite a bit, but regardless, they did start out in that top side. And I feel like this 1v1 matchup could set the tone here for this next play, because whichever top laner is going to die or find the solo kill, that's just a big man advantage moving into the next fight.
It's curious to see that now Kanji is facing off against Nightingale and Canatin has been placed in duty of fighting Gobbler. Meanwhile, Eastern Michigan University, understanding this change in tempo, rotating up to make sure that their Nivy, who shoved out the top side of the map, is safe, hovering around them so they're able to get pressure on this top side turret and not allow Canatin to go in. That's going to be a dashboard though from Meow as he goes straight into K-God here. Once again, the support being picked off before the fight can even happen here. Braum was able to get that Glacial Fissure out in order to buy some time, and the rest of AOE shows up. Big ultimate coming in from Nightingale.
Oh, Kanji though!
Kanji though gets 5 with the needle stack. It's going to be a massive turnaround for the Gwen as Esmond. You got nowhere to go, buddy. You got to try and kite this one out, but Kanji is there to shut you down. It is going to be a double kill, or it's going to be 4 kills for the price of 1 here for Eastern Michigan University. 21 minutes into this game, they are looking for this Baron.
Man, that was such a wild play coming in from EMU. It looked like it was going bad, but then Kanji, the hero, come in, swoop in, save the day. As now Resakin might have overextended, but it doesn't look like they have the amount of chase left to try and finish off that kill. EMU, they are absolutely in control of this game number 2 and clearly looking to finish the series in 2 games.
They want out of this series. They want to win it so bad and move their way onto quarterfinals here, as we are still only in the best of 16, really trying to make their way towards that finals in general, as 15 seconds on this next dragon before it spawns onto the map already. Drugs trying to set up in the river here for Eastern Michigan University, who had to reset after that successful fight on the top side of the map. They are 8,000 gold in the lead here, and we can see that in some of the items that they're able to pick up. Meow, a whole item ahead of his opponent, including the component here. A completed Seraph's Embrace coming in for Gobbler after the end of that fight, and 2.5 items here in the pockets of Resinkin to the 2 items of Esmond. All the carries here for the side of Eastern Michigan University are sitting fine and pretty above their opponents here, and because of that, we see this 3rd dragon is being just forfeited once more here by AOE Prodigies, and instead they're going to be trying to get themselves as much gold as possible, knowing that from here on out, on Soul Point, they have to be looking for those dragon fights every 5 minutes here. Gobbler. Oh my goodness, Gobbler.
Lord.
He gets ulted, but he's able to turn that one around. Meanwhile, on the top side of the map, though, Canatin's, he's trying to bait Kanji into going forward. The needlework doing so much work in order to buy out time here. Drugs finally shows up in order to back up his top laner, and Kanji able to back away in order to keep himself alive. Great sustain coming in from the top lane.
Good support coming in from Drug, making sure he'd be okay. Oh, the one shot! He just got meowed on.
You can't do that to him, Meow. We know, we get it. You're 7-1, now 8-1. Okay, you're strong. We get it. Why you gotta do the AD carry dirty like that, man? That's going to be the turret going over in the mid lane for Eastern Michigan University. Now sitting 9,500 gold lead ahead. They're almost at that 10k point. Gobbler once again getting jumped on the bottom side of the map, but this time it's going to be Canatin. The Glacial Field coming out to buy as much as possible. Kanji with the teleport is able to back up his mid laner. Gets the return kill onto Canatin, and nowhere you
Scissors
go,
out.
Nightingale is going to be safe here as Kanji is there to run you down. One more bullet from Razakin will find that kill as the MF goes on a rampage.
There's just no stopping EMU at this point. They are 10, 11k gold up. Esmond's just trying to find something. He's one of the strongest champions on his team, but even so, not enough oomph because when it comes to these 5v5s or even like 4v4s, there's just so much denial against him. And now it comes down to a Hail Mary play from Xin. He needs to get into this pit some way, somehow to try and make a steal happen, but it doesn't look like he's going to be gifted the opportunity.
Have to try and buy some space here. Your Eastern Michigan University. Is the Nivea showing up going to be enough? It is too little, too late. Norris, he tries to dash forward, but he will not be there in time for the smite onto the Baron. Baron goes over to Eastern Michigan University as they find a kill for themselves, and they are looking to end out game 2 here and win this series in 2-0 fashion.
Just an absolute steamroll right now. We have third items now being completed. Serelda's Grudge, Cosmic Drive, the Zanyas, the IE. There's just so much power coming in from EMU, and it's not even like they're stuck on half item completions either. Like, the best they've got is, you know, Drug only has the components of Thornmail, but even then, like, you look at the gap in itemization, it's not going well.
Okay, God, every time we come
It's
back
a
to
wrap.
him, he's just sacrificing himself for his team, and it doesn't even matter here. Nightstar, Can of Tin, losing the 1v1 on the top side of the map. K-God is down. It is just the carries left here for AOE Prodigies with nothing but inhibitor turrets and a base to their name here. Baron empowered minions, 2 of them sitting in the mid lane, are going to be going away at this turret, and you may not have any kind of range damage onto this turret, but it doesn't matter because the minions are enough, and it's not like AOE can shove out the enemy minions with this short range composition we were talking about before here. Top lane turret also going down. Inhibitor going to be picked up in all 3 lanes here, Nightstar.
Really all a formality here for the side of Eastern Michigan. AOE desperate to try and find and engage, but even if they do, look at how many minions are in the base. They're taking so much extra damage coming in from just these minions. Now EMU trying to escort these minions to the next tower.
Here's the final stand. Glacier Fissure comes out. The sunlight is going to be coming out as well here, but it's
There's
gonna be
no
able to just do a
stand.
little bit of damage. There is no stand. Is right, Nightstar. As Nightingale goes forward, he's able to find a knockback into a couple. One goes into the fountain, but it's going to be a quadra kill
Penta!
picked up for
Get it!
Rezikin. Is the Penta going to be picked up? It is. Eastern Michigan University wins their series and move on to the quarterfinals with a Penta kill to end it of all things.
There we go. Rasakin bullied the entire time in this series, I would say. He gets his retribution. He finishes it off with 5 kills on the Nexus. And it was just an absolute clinic. There's nothing else to say about that one. The side of EMU, they're just too damn strong. We touted, hey, you know, the side of AOE Prodigies, they essentially went 2-2 because they had a bye. That's not the worst look coming in from a 4th seed, but unfortunately, really showing the gap between a 1st and 4th seed is the squad of Eastern Michigan.
And, you know, we knew that Eastern Michigan coming into this series and coming into this whole tournament is looking to be one of the favorites to try and win it all. And we can see why people have been saying that for quite a while here is because both of these games, they had control from start to finish. And it really shows that it's not just a matter of, well, can you mechanically outplay your champions, your opponents here when you're playing at these higher elo tournaments? It's a matter of how you're able to play around the map, and we saw that especially in that second game there. AOE didn't even try and contest any of the later stages dragons. They didn't feel like they were ever in a position where they could, and that was just the control that they had in the first game with the AOE composition that they had for themselves. They still didn't feel like they could set up at any of these objectives, and that is just the sheer amount of pressure and map control that Eastern Michigan University is able to bring to the table when they find themselves an early lead.
Yeah, and it was just such a nice read on the map for the side of Eastern Michigan. They knew where they needed to be more often than not. And yes, there were a couple of moments where we did see outplays coming in from AOE Prodigies or be able to make those niche plays and find a couple picks. But that's really all it was. It was kind of a blip in the radar. They weren't able to take advantage of those small wins here or there and carry it forward into a larger win later on. It really was uh, a lot of one and done situations, and you just can't have that at this level of play. It may not be, you know, the top tier amateur. It may not be academy or LCS, but even at this level, you will get punished if you don't know where to go and take advantage of your leads.
And it was really hard for them too. They had one team fight where they got set up as a 5-man unit on that bottom side of the map in game 1, and it didn't go well for them. As we can all remember, there was a full-on ace, they lose the dragon, and from there it just felt like they were never quite able to mentally regain themselves. As you said, they had some great moments. They had some fantastic outplays in 1v1 situations. Canatin, props to him for continuing to play aggressive that entire series on that Camille, especially into the Gwen in that second game, where he was always looking to try and outplay his opponent, constantly trying to create that
Mhm.
side lane pressure that he needed to be for his team. Unfortunately, Eastern Michigan University, they had someone there to back up Kanji the entire time. Oftentimes, Drugs was there on the backside, ready to lock down Canatin whenever he was going forward and playing too aggressive. And when it mattered most, yes, you are able to get a couple of the solo outplays, and AoE put up a good fight, but it didn't matter when it needed to, when these objectives were on the line.
Mhm. And moving forward for Eastern Michigan, anyone that's playing Eastern Michigan, how do you deal with this mid jungle duo? 2 weeks ago, it was Gobbler taking advantage and running away with the map. This time around, it was Meow going to town on a
Hmm.
lot of his jungle picks, put on carry champions instead of, early game facilitating champions like a Lee Sin, like a Zen, who, if snowballed ahead, can really impact the mid game, but for the most part, they want to get kills early for their lanes and snowball those a lot faster. This time, it was a lot about him, and he was really able to just accelerate the match to such great pace coming in from this jungler.
But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it does mean that Eastern Michigan University moves on to the quarterfinals next week. That will be it for us here on the broadcast, though. Thank you for everyone who came out and watched us tonight. We really appreciate you being here. Shout out to all of our sponsors that you guys have seen in the ads throughout the night as well. And from myself, Icarus, from Nightstar, and from our production behind the scenes, the always beautiful Hypertension, we thank you all and we bid you all adieu.